Are you a murderer according to Judaism? Today, I want to talk a little bit about how the Ten Commandments, the Aseret HaDibrot, these big overarching statements and principles, which at times can seem quite general, don't steal, don't kill, etc., can feel like, what does that apply to you and me? Please God, none of us should be even in a position where murder is on the table for how we live our daily life and how we make moral decisions. But in Judaism, there is something called a diber and something called a mitzvah. A diber is an overarching principle. When it says the Ten Commandments, it doesn't really mean that in Hebrew. It says the Aseret HaDivarim, which means the 10 statements. Look at a diber as sort of an overarching principle with many detailed laws. The Ten Commandments are considered sort of a table of contents for all the mitzvot in the Torah. All the 613 commands can fall into these 10 categories. So lo tirtzach, for example, don't murder, is definitely talking about the crime of killing, of taking a life. But it is much more of a diber. It is encompassing. There are many mitzvot that fit within that category. And there are also many, so for example, when you says to keep Shabbat, there's obviously keeping Shabbat, but there's also the laws around all of the holidays, because every system of holiday are centered around, Shabbat, etc. So each mitzvah, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, to have faith in God. God took us out of Egypt. There are a lot of different mitzvot embedded in that. More than just technical mitzvot as well, there are what we call, midrashic ideas that can come from these 10 commandments. The bottom line is that the diber of don't kill has so much more to say about you and I and the way we live. So that although none of us, please God, are murderers, there's a lot more that we can do as individuals to prevent ourselves from violating the diber element, this overarching element of what it means to value life in this world. When it hears, as our sages teach, when we hear the words do not kill, we're really talking about as well, how much do we value life? So I want to learn a little piece, very short piece of Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach on this element, on this diber of do not murder, do not kill, lo tirtzach. So this is what he says. This is a very Chassidic understanding of reality. And when we start to think like a Chassid, the Torah becomes more expansive. The Torah really reaches our souls in ways that even if we're not, please God, murderers, we can still relate to this diber. So I'm going to share my screen. Let's go right into the learning. HaZohar HaKodesh Omer, Shekasher HaKadosh Baruch Hu Amar Lo Tirtzach. The Holy Zohar, one of the main books of Jewish mysticism, says that when God said, do not kill, Yesh Anashim Shisham'u Al Tikhu Sikan. There are some people that heard, don't take a knife, V'sahargu Mishahu. Don't take a knife and kill somebody. I mean, that's obvious, and we don't want to take that for granted. That still matters. But some people, when they hear don't murder, as we were saying, they hear it literally. Not that it doesn't matter, but they hear it literally. Don't take a knife and kill somebody. Ha'anashim ha'niskavim yoter sham'u al tichasu al afachad. The even higher people that are seeing the Torah from just another dimension, a more expansive dimension, a more diber-oriented dimension, when they hear the words lo tirtzach, what they're hearing is don't get angry at anyone. Now, okay, there's a time and a place to express frustration. I don't want to get into the usages. We've talked about that before, about when to rebuke people, when to express frustration. But in general, what this diber is alluding to, and we're very careful with anger in the Torah, the Rambam Maimonides says that most mitzvot, most character traits we work on, there's a balance between one extreme and the other. But with anger, we have to be super, super careful to lean towards the side of not acting on anger. Feeling anger is one thing, and we can get into another time about feeling anger. But don't be angry at a person. Why? Because the diber of murder, when you get to the level of being able to murder somebody, that means that on an underlying psychological level, on an extreme, there is a major sense of anger. My way. Something is not going my way right now. I need to take something away, take somebody's life, God forbid. Because I am, again, a motivating drive. There are so many motivating drives, but again, a strong motivating drive could be that murder comes from a very, 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 very extreme emotion of anger. And even if someone can say, no, it's not really, the bottom line is that when we think higher, we think, what are the underlying factors that can lead to a big Avera? So when I hear don't murder, I hear, don't create an environment internally. Work on my internal psychology, my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, so that I don't get to a place where I would do something like that. So I'm going to work on my anger. Even if I would never, please God, be a murderer, in a certain way, my anger is a burning fire and can really hurt people. But we're going even deeper. But the really, really emistic, the really holy, real people, what do they hear? Le'olam al tis'almu. Again, one sentence at a time. Go one word at a time here. One sentence at a time. Le'olam al tis'almu me'af echad. Don't ever ignore a person. Don't ever ignore a person. So there's murder of a flesh. There's the underlying emotion that goes into it, or one of the underlying emotions. But then there's going even deeper. Don't murder means don't hurt somebody. Don't ignore them. We talk about in the Torah a lot about the way we speak to people, our speech, and making sure that our speech doesn't kill people, so to speak, kill their reputation. But overall, in a certain deep level, if we ignore somebody, if we don't go out of our way to be loving, to be friendly, to imagine that the words that we say, however small, can make a major difference in someone's well-being. We don't know how lonely, God forbid, people are. Don't ever ignore anybody means I value your life. Murder is obviously the ultimate value of I don't value your life. Ignoring somebody is, when you ignore somebody, it's like I don't value you, I don't care about you, you're nothing to me, you're dead to me, God forbid. So we really want to work on, when we hear lo tirtzach, what can we do to bring someone life? What can we do to bring someone alive? Rabbi Shlomo did this. People that showed up to his funeral all across the world, homeless people, well, especially homeless people in New York, the amount of friendships that he made, the amount he went out of his way to talk to every single person. Don't ignore somebody. You don't know, first of all, if someone's contemplating, God forbid, suicide or anything like that, and you want to be that light in their life. But on a very, very deep level, we need to outreach to people and just let them know how much we love them, how much we care about them. Small words, friendly words matter so much. When we think about the lo tirtzach, this don't murder as a diber, as a bigger principle of life. I value life. I value each individual soul. Nobody is worth ignoring in this world. And I'm not talking about, again, people who need to have boundaries. There's so many nuances to all of this stuff, but I think you get what we mean on a spiritual level. Amar Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai Amru. Rabbi Yochanan, it said about Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Shebemeshach kol chayav me'olam lo kara she'adam acher aver liyado beli shehu hikdim lo shalom. Rabbi Yochanan, it says about Rabbi Yochanan that his whole life, there wasn't a situation where a human being passed by him without him saying shalom, without him saying hello first. We know that in the Torah there is a mitzvah of saying hello. It's actually a whole halachas on how to say hello, on being the first one to greet somebody. Rabbi Yochanan was so strict on this, not ignoring anybody. Ze omer shehu haya kol kach lahut lir'os adam acher she'af echad lo haya yachol lahakdim lo shalom. He was so enthusiastic, he was so excited, he was so eager that when he sees another human being, he would never, ever want to allow them to say hello first. Of course, maybe there's an instance where someone says hello because they're working on this too, but the bottom line is every interaction is an opportunity to practice the diber of lo tirtzach, to practice the value of do not murder. Even though you would never think about killing anybody. Don't think about ignoring anybody. Although there is a separate mitzvah, this is what's so cool, you could say the mitzvah of saying hello. Now I'm forgetting it off the top of my head. There is a definite mitzvah in the Torah of saying hello. That mitzvah is part of the diber, part of the overarching principle, if you wanted to go midrashic a little bit here, of lo tirtzach. Don't ignore somebody. Say hello to them. Give their soul a breath of kindness, a little bit of a fresh breath of life. So that's a little piece of Rabbi Shlomo, just about the importance of expanding our understanding of lo tirtzach and saying, I will never ignore anybody. I want to be that kind of person in the world that one interaction can bring so much life to a person's light and life to a person's existence in this world. So thank you for listening. I hope that you will consider being a person who is makdim l'shalom, who begins the process of saying shalom, is the first to say shalom. Don't underestimate the power of a few words to save a life. So keep listening. I hope you'll follow along to my content, long form, short form. This is Rabbi Noah. Thank you for listening.